So Oblivion just came out into theaters this weekend, and I thought that would be a great time to dive into Tom Cruise's back catalog with Legend. Part of the reason I asked you how you felt about Stars You Knew Were Crazy is because I was going to do Tom Cruise this week. Tom Cruise is one of the most successful actors. His movies make bank all the time, but we all also know that he's crazy. We all would love to be involved in one of his movie projects. It's hard to find someone who speaks more passionately about their movies. Tom Cruise loves making movies. He loves making spectacle movies. I have a bunch of Tom Cruise movies that I just adore. I go to the theater to see them because I know I'm going to be seeing something big. I was listening to Christopher McQuarrie talk about working with him on Jack Reacher. Just great Tom Cruise stories there. And I dug Jack Reacher big time. I know some people who didn't. I liked it a lot. So let's get down to Legend. Legend was a movie made in 1985. Tom Cruise starred in it after he starred in Risky Business, which was an amazing movie. Legend is a Ridley Scott picture. Ridley Scott had just done Alien and Blade Runner, followed it up with Legend. So let's just hop right into it. 1985's Legend. We start with the Lord of Darkness giving a monologue, talking about how he is darkness. Has an awesome voice. We'll get to who he is later. He calls for Blix the Goblin. Blix shows up and starts talking in rhyme. And then the Lord of Darkness is like, look, Blix, are you not my nastiest goblin ever? And Blix is like, you know it. Darkness is like, okay, so here's what you're gonna do. There is this pure creature called a unicorn. I want you to go out there, kill the unicorn, bring me their horns. As long as they exist, darkness cannot reign. Go kill me some unicorns. Blix is like, word. So then we find Mia Sara, and Mia Sara is singing a song to nature. Many of us will know Mia Sara as Ferris Bueller's girlfriend.
You knew what you were doing when you woke up this morning, didn't you?
Me? Or as Time Cop's wife.
You'll do.
Here she is a princess in a forest glen. Actually, it depends on which version you are watching. We watched the director's cut. Last week I kind of railed against director's cuts, and there are director's cuts and extended versions that just kind of ruin their movies. Like the Donnie Darko director's cut is one of the worst things to happen to that flick. The extended edition of Frighteners is way worse than the theatrical cut. Ridley Scott's director's cuts people kind of want to go with. In this case, I was hoping to watch the theatrical cut of Legend because it was a half hour shorter and had a pop 80s score, which sounded like a good time to me. But we watched the director's cut. So Mia Sara is singing a song to nature, then she heads to this cottage, and of course the production design everywhere is amazing. All of the forests in this movie were built in sound stages. Amazing. Ridley Scott started out as a production designer, and all of his movies look awesome, and a lot of the early ones at least are more about a really slow kind of tonal pace and amazing imagery than they are about like a fast-moving story. That's one of the problems I kind of have with Ridley Scott movies, but that's what a lot of people love about him. So she goes to the cottage, and then she's like, I just stopped by to say hi because I have a date in the forest. And she heads out, and she runs into Jack. Jack is her forest boyfriend, played by a very high-pitched voice, Tom Cruise.
It's much more than wisdom that dazzles me, Lily.
Jack is like, I've been waiting to show you something very special. And Lily's like, let me see it, I need to see it. And he blindfolds her, takes her to a clearing, out come the unicorns. The unicorns are running around in slow motion, being beautiful. And then Lily sings and heads out to touch the unicorn. And Jack is like, no, Lily, that's forbidden, don't do that. She touches the unicorn, and Blix shoots a poison dart at it, and then the unicorns run off. And then Jack is all mad that Lily touched the unicorn. She's like, I just wanted to touch it, what's the big deal? She's like, as a princess, I can tell my suitors to perform a task for me. So here's this ring. Whoever brings me back this ring, I will marry. She tosses it, goes off a cliff into a pond, and Jack's like, done. Heads off, jumps off the cliff, dives down looking for it. Doesn't find it. At that moment, the unicorn who's been darted is hanging out in this hurricane of pink flower petals, and Blix and the other goblins show up, claim its horn, the entire world freezes over. Jack, who is underwater, gets drawn into that deal, and he's stuck under there until he bursts through. Makes it out, not a big deal. So Lily is scared, and she's cold, it's freezing, and she heads back to the cottage that we've seen, but the inhabitants of the cottage are frozen solid, and it's creepy. And then the goblins show up. Blix finds out that he can use the horn like a magic wand, and he like starts a fire, and he breaks some stuff, and that's when they talk about how without the princess enchanting the unicorn, they never could have brought the end to, you know, the happy world. And Lily is all upset about that. Jack is like in a snowy clearing. Honeythorn Gump shows up. Ultimate confidence Gump has.
How does a migrating swallow know the way south in winter?
cannot be stopped. Okay, so Jack tells him that Lily touched a unicorn, and Gump freaks out about it. It's like, a mortal must never touch a unicorn. Jack, what's the matter with you? So Gump and these other forest inhabitants head with Jack in search of the unicorn. They got to make sure the unicorn's okay. They find the hornless unicorn in the clearing with the other unicorn, and they're like, okay, we need to get the horn back. Gump says that Jack's got to be the hero, so work it out, Jack. Then Jack goes into this cave led by Una, like this little forest sprite, and Una turns into a big version of Una, and she's like, don't ever tell anybody my secret, I'm Big Una, don't tell anyone. And then he gets his armor and his sword, whatever, and they head out. So while Blix is messing around, the big bad Lord of Darkness shows up and is like, give me that horn. And then he's like, the dawn is coming. Why? Did you not kill both unicorns? And I was like, no. One of them lived.
Even one unicorn walks the earth. My power is not complete.
So then, while one of the forest dudes they left to watch the body of the unicorn guard it, Lily shows up. Then the bad guys show up to try and get the other unicorn. The forest man tries to fend them off, but he gets shot in the head with an arrow. And they capture Lily and they capture the unicorn. Jack and Gump and the other forest guys come back and they're like, no, you can't be dead. And they lift up his hat and it hit the bottle. He keeps like a bottle of booze in his hat. Solid maneuver. So he's not dead, but he still thinks he's dead. And he tells them all what happened. And they go through this swamp, and that's when they encounter Meg. The makeup effects in this movie are amazing. The imagery is amazing. The makeup effects are amazing. Some of the acting is a little spotty. The makeup was done by this guy, Rob Bottin. He's one of the best makeup effects artists up there along with Rick Baker. He did all of the special makeup effects in John Carpenter's The Thing, which has the best crazy practical special effects sequences ever, in my opinion. So this guy, Rob Bottin, is doing Legend. So Meg Mucklebones shows up, played by this guy, Robert Picardo, okay? And I best know him from Inner Space as the cowboy.
Hey, cowboy!
Oh, he gives a great performance.
You don't really mean to eat me, do you, ma'am?
Oh, indeed I do!
And Jack kind of tries to flirt his way out of it, distracts her with his shield, and chops her head off. Kind of sad to see her go. She was really interesting. And most of the scenes with Jack are not very interesting in Legend. So they fall down a cave into a dungeon, and then this big guard shows up and takes one of the other prisoners away, and there's lots of screaming, and they're hiding and everything. And they're like, how are we gonna get out of here? Una gets big again and says she'll help if Jack kisses her, but he won't do it because he's in love with Lily.
Human hearts don't work that way.
And Una gets ticked, and she like gets small and takes off, but she still lets everybody out anyway. Darkness, who we still have not fully seen, all of a sudden confesses to the fire, who he calls father, talks about how now he's all into Lily. And his father tells him, you know, you gotta woo her. That's it, son. So then Mia Sara runs in slow motion through the halls of darkness, and Una's kind of following her. And then Lily finds Darkness's throne room. She finds some jewels, and she's kind of enchanted by them when this dark dancing figure without a face, kind of got a glitter face. One thing I forgot to mention is that so much of this movie is filled with glitter. Glitter sometimes covers the frame. The horns glitter. Glitter is all over Lily's face for most of the movie. Their glitter budget on this movie was higher than probably the budget we had on the last 3 Pops episodes. So this dark dancing figure is dancing around, and Lily kind of is drawn to suddenly dance. She becomes the dark figure. We're gonna stop there for a second. I'm gonna tell you what happens at the end of Legend in a little bit. We haven't gotten to the main reason to see Legend yet, which is who plays the main villain and how amazing the makeup effects on that villain are. Overall, it's a pretty skippable movie, in my opinion. I love the imagery, I love the design of everything, I love the makeup effects, they're amazing. Looks great. And the fact that it was done without any computer effects is even more amazing. But the story's a little weak. This week I'm going to give you a choice of what the study guide will be next week. I've got 2 options for you. I'm not going to do a study guide for any of the movies that are coming out next weekend. But next weekend you have a choice between 2 movies. One of them, in honor of Roger Ebert, is the only film he ever wrote the screenplay for, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. It's a 70s exploitation flick, or my first feature, which I shot on consumer-grade mini DV tapes. Which one would you like to see? Roger Ebert's Beyond the Valley of Dolls, or a study guide of my first 90-minute feature? Let me know in the comments. Now I will tell you about the end of the movie Legend. And she sees herself in the mirror and she's horrified, and then darkness emerges from the mirror. And it's an amazing moment as he emerges. Boom! Imagery galore. Darkness is played by Tim Curry. Tim Curry is probably most notorious from Rocky Horror Picture Show. I like him best as Pennywise the Clown.
Aren't you gonna say Hello?
as the butler in Clue,
Even if you were right, that would be 1 + 1 + 2 + 1, not 1 + 2 + 1 + 1.
as the speech therapist in Oscar.
You use the past participle without a modifier.
Tim Curry is in so many movies, and he is awesome, period. So Tim Curry's like, we're gonna be married, Dark Lily, and Mia Sarah's like, never. Una brings Jack and Gump over to the door, and they're listening in, and then, unfortunately for him, Darkness kind of Bond villains it.
Sunshine is my destroyer.
Tim Curry just keeps being amazing. Tim Curry's like, I will give you anything you ask for. Just be my bride. Lily's like, I want to kill the unicorn. That's what I want to do. They got the unicorn tied up in the dungeon. I want to kill it. And Tim Curry's like... Then... I don't know what it is about Ridley Scott movies of this era. As things are wrapping up towards the end and the momentum is getting going, the villain of the piece starts kind of monologuing.
In the beginning, there was nothing. A void of darkness.
He has Rutger Hauer do it in Blade Runner.
All those moments will be lost in time.
He kind of takes a climax and then kind of like boils it down so that it's not as intense as it would have been. Jack sees Dark Lily for the first time and he's freaked out by it. Lily is about to sacrifice the unicorn. Gump is like, Jack, she's gonna kill the unicorn. You gotta kill her, Jack. You gotta do it. And Jack is like, no, I trust her. Last second, she chops the chain instead of the unicorn, and the unicorn starts like running all over the place. Gump starts firing arrows at Darkness. Jack and Darkness have a fight, but for 2 seconds, the Darkness costume doesn't hold up as he runs in slow motion and his horns wiggle a little precariously. And then he and Jack fight, bloody, bloody, blah. Jack stabs him with the horn. At the same time, they get the light of the sun down through the Darkness's caves with this bunch of plates that they have reflecting light, and the light hits him as well, and right as he's at the back, he starts to kind of like monologue again.
What is light without dark? What are you without me?
And apparently Jack feels the same way as I do about villain monologuing at the end of Ridley Scott movies, because he just kicks Darkness into space. Gump and the crew head out, they take the horn, Jack gets back to the pond for the ring, goes down, grabs the ring, heads back up. Lily's face is glittering again, so she must be okay. Puts the ring on her, she wakes up, and everything seems fine. The forest is nice again. The 2 unicorns are back. Jack gives the old wave. That was 1985's Legend. Tom Cruise has made a lot of movies, and a lot of them have been really, really good. Legend was one, I'd put it on the lower percentage pile. But now you don't have to watch it. You've seen a study guide of it.